Hello, this is Dr. Jason Dean with Palmer Natural Health. I'm actually coming to you guys today from in the office. We're literally live. So welcome to the Facebook webinar. Appreciate you coming on. I'm Dr. Jason Dean, a doctor of chiropractic, as well as a nutrition response testing practitioner. So this is literally a live webinar. Welcome to the office on this Tuesday afternoon. And today we're going to dive in. I'm going to take a little bit of your time while maybe you're on lunch or wherever it may be. And we're going to dive into finding out from a cardiovascular standpoint about heart health. Okay. And do me a favor, if you're jumping on here, we have a couple people on here now. If you're jumping on, do me a favor, actually post some comments if you have any questions. I'll touch on any that I possibly can, as many as I possibly can. So put those in there, or you can even direct message us as well, and we'll answer as much as we can while we're going through this actual information. And do me a favor, tell me if you have any concerns about heart health or cardiovascular issues or anything like that, because as I dive into this, I'm going to tell you that cardiovascular disease is the #1 killer and disease in North America right now. So that's a big problem. And I'm going to go into a little bit of my story, on my personal story, on why that is, what's happened to me, and what we actually do for you. So and the first thing too is, if you're interested in getting to our office and getting any help necessary from a nutrition response testing standpoint, do me a favor. You can either comment next to us or in the comments, or you can actually private message or direct message in Facebook Messenger that you're interested, and we'll get in touch with you immediately and get you actually set up. We can get that taken care of, but I'll go into more of that later as well. So today I want to tell you a little bit about my world and cardiovascular issues. So many of you have had quite a few scares, whether it's yourself, your family, friends, whoever it may be, on a cardiovascular standpoint, because it is the #1 killer. And many people don't even realize that the #1 symptom, or the first thing that happens in cardiovascular disease, is an actual heart attack. Now, there can be small heart attacks, there can be stuff you live through, but unfortunately, heart attacks take most people. And so cardiovascular disease, again, #1. So we hear about cancer, we hear about diabetes, we hear about other disease processes in the body and how bad they can be and the danger and the death involved. Cardiovascular disease still #1, even over cancer. And I know everyone's been touched by cancer in their life at some point. So I want to go a little bit into, now the information here, we talked about how can you get lower cholesterol, not that cholesterol has to be low, because unfortunately, the medical system actually wants cholesterol too low. How you can get more energy, and how you can do all of this without having to stop eating fat. So I'm going to go into a little bit of a study that was actually put out a couple of years ago in regards to why fat's actually good for us and not bad for us, because you've been told for a long period of time that fat was bad for you and that it actually caused heart disease or cardiovascular disease. So I'm going to, quell some of those rumors or myths, as we call them, from the medical community. And again, if you have any questions at all while you're watching this, because this actually is going to go out to many people after this, it'll be shared. We want you to share this amongst everyone you know that we can potentially help as well. Okay, we're going to go over all of this information. So now keep in mind, you've been told that your cholesterol has to be low, under 200, which is not necessarily true. Now, many of you might even be on statin medications. You know, statin medications are literally the #1 prescribed medication out there today in the medical world. So you're on a statin. Unfortunately, statin medications actually can cause harm to your heart. Now, what do you mean by that? So side effects of statin medications are actually muscle weakness. But if you think about the human body, what's the most important organ of the human body? Well, it's our heart. Well, what is our heart made of? Our heart is all muscle. So keep in mind, a side effect of these statin medications is actually muscle weakness. So technically, you're getting heart weakness. So statin medications pull your cholesterol down under 200, which can be very, very dangerous. But also on top of that, you get a side effect or a symptom of weakened muscle, which is your heart. So your heart actually gets weaker as you're on a statin medication, when in reality, we see a lot of people, their cholesterol is well above 200 and they're perfectly healthy. Now, why is that? Because ultimately, cholesterol is required in the human body. Now, obviously, your body makes some, but cholesterol, your brain is made of cholesterol. Your brain is made of all fat, a form of cholesterol. You actually have to have it. A precursor, or meaning coming before, precursor to all the hormones in your body is cholesterol. Now, lastly, very important is we have trillions of cells in the human body, okay? The body is made up of cells. The outside layer, the shell, or outside the cell, is made up of fat cholesterol. So what you're getting is you're getting a world of medicine that's telling you to take statins to lower your cholesterol. Yet we just talked about three important things: the cell wall, right? Hormones, and your brain all require cholesterol. So do you think it might be important to have cholesterol in your life, and why you might want to have fat in your life? So I was once, like many of you, scared to death, heart palpitations. I had what was called a preventricular contraction, meaning my heart would literally skip beats. Major anxiety, depression, and I'm going to give you my whole story at the end, but many of you might actually be dealing with that as well today. And as this video goes around on Facebook land and more of you watch it out there, you may be dealing with some of that same exact stuff, and you might be thinking, well, they don't have anything to do with my heart. Well, actually, they can have something to do with your heart. They can also have something to do with your thyroid, because what you're not told is your heart doesn't control its own rhythm, okay, your heartbeat. Your thyroid actually controls your heart rhythm, and most people don't know that. The medical world doesn't tell you that. So that's a little bonus today, because that's not actually what I was going to tell you about. I'm going to tell you about something else, but your thyroid controls your heart rate. So if you're a hyperthyroid or maybe even a hypothyroid, do you think your heart rhythm or heart rate might be off a little bit? Absolutely. But ultimately, they want to put you on medications. One, because there's a lot of money involved. Two, it dramatically affects your entire physiology. Okay, so I want to go into some things about health. So what is the #1 cause of cardiovascular disease? Well, you were told fat. That is completely incorrect. The actual #1 cause of cardiovascular disease is refined carbohydrates, or shall we say sugar, okay? Sugar is the cause of heart disease. Did you know sugar is basically the cause of most all diseases out there, including cancer? So cancer is fed by sugar, just so you know. So if you know of anybody out there that has cancer, essentially they have to stop eating sugar as soon as possible, because cancer is fed by sugar. But back to heart disease. So what they tell you is your arteries become blocked with fat or with cholesterol. Now, let me kind of let this make a little more sense to you. So when they open up a vessel, yes, maybe there's some cholesterol or fat there, but that's not actually why that is there. That is not the cause of heart disease. That's actually a symptom of heart disease, is having that artery or the hose in your body blocked. Well, how does that get there? Well, essentially, if you eat sugar, sugar causes massive inflammation in the body. Did you know, literally, if you just taste sugar, the second sugar touches your tongue or your mouth, your body and your joints start to inflame. A real problem, obviously. So what happens to your vessels is they also inflame. Well, what they do is over time they inflame and then they contract, inflame, contract. But the more, if you continue eating sugar over and over and you just have a high inflammatory diet, your vessels, your arteries continue to stay inflamed. They blow up essentially. And then what happens is you have tearing in the artery. So in between the wall of the arteries, it starts to tear. Now, go back to science class here. If the arteries start to tear inside, like a hose, say a hose starts to tear inside, things start to attach to it because we have a thing called friction. Now what's happening is you have many things going through your bloodstream on a daily basis. But what happens now is the fat and cholesterol that's going through your body gets sticky and sticks to that friction on the inside of the artery or vessel wall. Now it continues to build up and build up and build up, because as soon as you have a little pile of stuff there, it continues to attract things to it and pile up. Next thing you know, you have a deposit in your arteries or your vessel walls. So when they open you up, they see this plaque or this buildup, and they take it out and say, oh, well, fat caused your heart disease, and you had a abundance of fat in the vessels, and that's what's causing your blockage. Well, it's kind of a symptom, actually. The symptom is that everything's catching on that tear in the wall. The actual cause was the inflammation that started the whole cycle. That cause is a major, major problem. So the actual cause of cardiovascular disease or heart disease is inflammation of the walls, sticking of that cholesterol in there. But if you didn't have the inflammation in the first place, that cholesterol, that fat, those other particles would not be able to stick there, and you would not have that plaque buildup. We actually recently just had a patient over the last year or so, came in with about 60 to 90% blockage in 2 vessels. And after about a year and a half with us, they're down to 20% with no surgical procedures. That's just through nutrition response testing, testing the patient, helping them change their diet to something that's more anti-inflammatory and pro-organ building up. And they went down to a 20% blockage, which is amazing. It's still going lower. And that person was not 30. That person was actually, I think, 50 or 60. So that's a major dramatic change in their life. But that's actually what's causing it. Now, I also want to tell you a little bit of information. If you actually Google, Yahoo, Bing, whatever one of those you want to use, if you Google the actual article, it was several years ago that was put out by CBS, NBC, all the mainstream news, and it actually was an article regarding how we were told a lie many years ago, about 50 to 60 years ago, by scientists and by the media regarding heart disease. So what we were told was that fat causes heart disease, right, and sugar was okay for you. Now, if you go and look up this article, Harvard scientists, so look up fat, sugar, and Harvard scientists, right? Harvard scientists were paid between $50,000 and $60,000 a person to actually reverse the science that they found. So what actually happened was they were doing studies, and they found that sugar caused disease and fat actually helped us. And what they did was they were paid to lie and flip that information so that you would think that fat caused the heart disease and sugar was good for you. So are we a bit addicted to sugar today? I mean, every single person I see that has any health issue going on, when you talk to them, you look at their actual food and their diet, they're battling major sugar problems because it literally has become the new drug of choice. We all eat way too much of it as American society. And unfortunately, America is actually the most unhealthy country out of all the countries in the world because we push so much sugar on everybody. It's a big problem. So what's good for you? Because a lot of people are asking, people want to know, what is good for you? Now, sugar, obviously not so good for you. And there's some better sugars out there like stevia, which is not a sugar, it's just a sweetener, but there's no sugar in it. It can give you a little sweetener. But sugar is not good for you, obviously. What is good for you? Well, fats. Let me tell you what fats. Now, I'm not taking cholesterol or Crisco. Crisco is not a good fat for you. Canola oil, not a good fat for you. You may be watching, commercials and TV where it's saying, oh, hey, canola oil is good for you. Well, it's actually genetically modified. It's got a lot of pesticides in it because when they spray the fields where the corn is, and then they put that actually into the oil as well, it's really bad for you. So Crisco, canola oil, things like that, not good for you. Let me tell you what is good for you. So coconut oil. Now, if you Google this, you're going to find some articles that tell you that it's not good for you, but coconut oil is actually fantastic for you, and it's better cooking in too. You cook in coconut oil, right? You don't cook in olive oil anymore, okay? Because the smoke points. But what you do is the olive oil can go on your salads. Keep it cold. It's actually fantastic for you, okay? So coconut oil is fantastic. It's great whether it's cooked in or you just put it in a smoothie, whatever you want to, it's fantastic for you. Avocados. Who out there likes avocados? I personally love them. Eat as many avocados as you would like. They're fantastic for you, all good fat. We talk about medium chain triglycerides, MCT oil, you've heard about that is a good one. SCT oil is short chain triglyceride. Those are all good for you. Also butter. So anybody love butter? I love butter. I put butter on every single thing you can possibly imagine. My daughter eats butter like it's going out of style. Now we're talking about good quality butter. We're not talking about margarine. Margarine is one of the bad fats. We don't want margarine. We want good quality butter, grass-fed if you can. Some of the good ones out there are like Kerrygold. We love Kerrygold at our home and in the office here. It's fantastic for you. Those lead to good, healthy cholesterol levels. They also do bringing down inflammation in the body, which is something you're going for. So go for that type of stuff. That is excellent for you. Now, if you have any questions, obviously put them in the comments section as well. We'll answer as many as they possibly can. We have people coming in and going out. And we'll also maybe send you a link there for good cholesterol foods, okay? That's gonna help you a lot. Now, let me tell you a little bit of my story, because a lot of people that jump on this are gonna have heart issues going on. They're gonna have health issues that they're dealing with, and they're not really sure what to do with that. So let me tell you first off, I was like you. So you may be experiencing some problems in your life. For example, I had major anxiety, as I said earlier. I had actually heart attack symptoms. So I had chest pressure right here, down my arm, in the back of my shoulder. I had that on a daily basis. It was actually quite scary. I had massive amounts of anxiety. I had mild to moderate depression. I had what was called an arrhythmia, what was called a preventricular contraction for me, which was not good at all, right? So I literally every single day was battling what I thought was going to be a heart attack. This was in my mid-20s, by the way. So I was very young. I was having major problems. I felt like an elephant was sitting on my chest at all times. It was actually very scary. What I tell in all my presentations is there were a lot of times I went to bed at night so stressed, so anxious, kind of like a panic attack, that I was afraid I wasn't going to wake up in the morning. That's actually really scary. Maybe some of you have been dealing with the same exact thing. And I have a family history of cardiovascular problems. So that scared me a lot. Now in my mid-20s, I was having this problem. And what I did was I was getting so concerned that I actually made an appointment with a cardiologist, or actually a family physician, cardiology background, for an exam. They went through the exam. They had no problems. They didn't see anything wrong. But they asked me if I ever got anxious. I said, yes, I get anxious all the time. Now they sent me to a psychiatrist. After they told me I had low iron, I had eaten red meat all the time. It wasn't a big deal, but they said it wasn't bad, so we weren't worrying about it. But they sent me to a psychiatrist because I had anxiety. Now I went there, and within 2 visits, they gave me this little fill-in-the-blank and a multiple choice test. By the time I was done, they had ranked me in the 98th percentile of ADD, ADHD. And they put me on Zoloft and Adderall. Now, I'm going to fast forward a little bit. Zoloft and Adderall were not working at all. After 1 day, I felt high as a kite, and I was very scared because I'd never done a drug in my life. So it was a very weird, not good feeling for me. So I actually took myself off of it. Now, don't do that if you're on those. That's not what you do with those medications. But later on, I was still having this problem. Nothing was helping me with it. So I went to a cardiologist. Now, fast forward, I went to the cardiologist because I was still having this problem and I was very concerned about it. They put me on their stress test, which is a treadmill test. Now, remember, I said that I had a preventricular contraction, meaning the large chamber of my heart was pausing in between heartbeats. To the point where when my wife took my pulse, she actually got scared because my heart would stop for like a second or two, which doesn't seem like a long period of time, but in the world of hearts and pulses and beats, 1 to 2 seconds can seem like an eternity. And my heart would literally stop and then start back up, right? Big problem. So I did the stress test. As I was doing the stress test, I'm an athlete, so I'm running on the treadmill. I'm actually sprinting on the treadmill. They had it all the way up to the highest level. And what happened was, as I got faster and faster, my heart started to beat regularly. So the arrhythmia went completely away. They were pretty shocked. They'd never seen anything like that before. And so they stopped the treadmill because everything was good. The stress test I passed, and it made me feel better as well. I went into the doctor's office. And now, interesting, because as I was doing that, I'm a pretty logical person. I was thinking, wait a second. If I'm running, which is exercise, and my heart beat regular, isn't that a good thing? Well, I would think so. Anyway, the doctor came in. He was in there about 2 minutes with me. He never mentioned exercise. He never mentioned anything about what I eat. And he also never mentioned food or anything else except for a medication. They didn't even mention exercise, food, anything, nothing across the board. But he wanted to put me on a beta blocker immediately. Now, if I just ran and I did better, and my diet was very poor at the time, wouldn't you think diet and exercise first? No, it was actually medication first. Now, I never started that medication, but fast forward, I had to change something because I was still having this problem. I'm just finding out if I exercise more, I potentially have symptoms that go away and I feel a little bit better. But also, I was a sugar addict. So I literally woke up in the morning, I had sugar in my coffee, or should I say I had some coffee with my sugar, because I used to have so much sugar in my coffee that when I stirred it, and after I was finished drinking it, I remember having a thick layer of sugar at the bottom that wasn't used and didn't get dissolved in the hot coffee, which is insane. That's how much sugar I was having on a daily basis. And then every day I lived the roller coaster. I call it the roller coaster like this, okay? Blood sugar roller coaster. So what I was doing was I'd start with sugar, and I'd end the day with sugar. But throughout the middle of the day, I was snacking on sugar all day long. I'd get a sugar high, and then I'd crash. When I crashed, I put more sugar back in, and then I crashed. And then a sugar high again, and then crashed. It was literally a roller coaster all day long, and that's how I lived every single day of my life. I didn't put anything healthy into my life at all. Nothing. It was simply that. And again, as I say, during this time, I was having chest pressure so bad and heart attack symptoms so bad that I was afraid I was actually not going to live very long. Very, very scary. And then fast forward, what I did was I actually found a doctor that did nutrition response testing. And when she tested me, she found that my heart was under stress, but also my thyroid was under stress. Now, keep in mind, remember I said I had a preventral contraction, hard to say, in my heart, where my large chamber was beating incorrectly. Now, they found the thyroid because my thyroid was hyper, which some days I still talk really fast. My thyroid is hyper, which was making my heartbeat go off and on, inconsistent, right? But then I was also told by this practitioner, this doctor, that if I wanted to have a long life, enjoy my family, be able to do things to my kids, if I could even have kids, because my body was so beat up, my heart was under a tremendous amount of stress, and it had to be handled. And so what I did was I started getting tested regularly. I started taking supplementation to build my heart back up. I started taking thyroid supplementation to get that under control as well. And I will be honest with you, I had to dive in and I had to handle my food. I was, again, the sugar roller coaster up and down. I was hammering myself with a food that's not only addictive, but it destroys the body. It literally pulls all mineral content out of the body and destroys the body over a period of time. You know, I always give the example, if you have somebody you know who has osteoporosis, that's actually a sugar disease, because sugar pulls minerals out of the bone, out of the body, and it basically deteriorates it. So I was doing that to my heart and my thyroid. And again, when you go to bed having heart attack symptoms and you don't know if you're waking up the next morning, there's no bigger scare, there's no bigger pain than that thought process and that feeling in your body. So I understand exactly what you're dealing with out there, because I deal with it every single day with other patients, but I've been through it myself. You know, anxiety is there all the time before, it's gone now. The depression, it's gone, but I battled that. And then I was on 2 medications at one time. I know people out there, you maybe, that have 2, 3, 5, 7, 10 medications, and it's out of control. And then the next medication gives you a side effect, which leads to another medication, leads to another medication. You know, when do you stop that cycle? When do you break the cycle? How much are you willing to pay for medications, for health insurance that's out of control? How long are you willing to not spend time with your family, lose time at work, production, all those things that are holding you back in life and you're not handling? I was there just the same as you. I changed my diet as fast as I possibly could. My diet today is nothing like it used to be, but there's easy ways to do that. I know how to do that. I know how to help you with that. And I know how to help anybody with those issues and with heart problems and with anxiety and depression. If you have anxiety, depression, I don't want you to have to be on medications the rest of your life, these psychiatric medications that are so bad. This is stuff I want to help you with, because you can end the pain, you can end the agony that you've been dealing with for a long period of time. So what I want you to do, at Palmer Natural Health, we do nutrition response testing. And if you have a problem like this, if you're tired of having cardiovascular issues, if your cholesterol is high, if you're having heart arrhythmias, if you're having any of these issues, if you're having heart attack symptoms like I was with anxiety and depression, when does that stop? When do you put a stop to it? 5, 10 years down the road? How are you going to be 5 or 10 years down the road if you don't change something right now? You won't, because that's what happens. We put things off. We put our family off. We put everything off. And we think, okay, it won't happen to me. But it will happen to you, because I know you know somebody who's died of a heart attack completely out of thin air. We have 30 and 40-year-old people dying today of heart attacks that you thought were healthy because every stress was on them and they weren't handling it. So if you would like to handle that and break the cycle that you've been battling through with all of these different symptoms, I am more than willing to help you. So do me a favor, put a comment in the comments below. We will reach out to you and contact you. Or you can actually private message me. We'll do that as well. We'll actually reach out and contact you. Need your information like email address and phone number and your name, and we'll get right back to you. Typically a new exam and consult in our office for nutrition response testing, which includes exam, history, nutrition response testing, clinical findings, as well as a NASA certified Health Express test that shows us your physiology and how your body works. Also, we'll do the whole doctor's report for you. Normally a $240 value. I'll do that today for $47, okay? We'll get you handled. Again, private message me or private message Palmer Natural Health, or even just put a comment in below and we'll reach out to you and contact you to help you, because I'm looking to help save people's lives. We know how to do it. We know how to handle it. We know how to help you. So if you have any questions, again, put those there and reach out to us directly. I hope this webinar was valuable to you today. I hope we can help you, friends, family, colleagues. Do me a favor, please share this video across Facebook. Absolutely, we'll help as many people as possible. We're happy to do it. We can help end your suffering, your pain, and get you back on the other side where we're all living now, which is free of symptoms, but also free of all these disease processes that people are battling, and cardiovascular disease is #1. So jump on board that offer. We'll help you out. I want you guys to have a great day. Thank you for joining me on your lunch hour or whatever it was for you today. Dr. Jason Dean, Palmer Natural Health, signing off. You guys have a great one. We'll talk to you next time.